Hi, my name is Kathy Allen, and I'm the Executive Director of the Inclusive Higher Education Certificate Program operating on the Auraria campus downtown Denver. I've been fielding a lot of phone calls from parents saying, oh my gosh, my school is closing down because of the coronavirus. And suddenly I'm supposed to teach at home. I don't know what to do. I've never done this before. I just send my kids off to school, and now I'm expected to do this on my own. So I wanted to put together a series of short videos for you just to give you a little support in this transition from their students learning at school to you teaching at home. A little bit about me. The Inclusive Higher Education Certificate Program has been in operation for 5 years. For 4 of those years, we have been doing online learning through a blended format. So students come to campus to apply their learning, but their homework is online. I work with special needs students, and I've done distance learning, a young woman in Dolores, Colorado, to here in Denver, students in academic coaching, instructional support services actually get their tutoring and their coaching online. So making the transition from on-campus blended format to online learning for us was pretty easy. Here's a picture, screenshot of our college preparation class last week. It was March 15th. I received an email saying, be prepared to go directly to online learning tomorrow, Monday, March 16th. And we had less than 12 hours to get ourselves together. We did. Our students met through Zoom. We've been practicing using Zoom video conferencing since they're so used to working and gathering their information, accessing their coursework, their textbooks, their assignments online. It was a pretty smooth transition. But I can only imagine what it would be like for a parent to go, oh my goodness, suddenly I need to stay at home. I need to work from home, and I have a student or two that's really going to need my help. So that's why I'm here. I wanted to be able to give you some ideas and some tips that we use and that special educators use to manage their classrooms and really get the most out of student learning. So we're going to start with creating your learning environment. Here's a picture of an empty classroom. Hardly any distractions there. You add a few humans here, maybe 20 of them, middle school to high school age, and there are distractions galore. But this is where we're going to start, is that we need to create an environment where your student can learn. That's going to be your primary job as a parent. But you don't have that pristine classroom with the neatly lined up desks. You have a kitchen table, a bunch of textbooks, maybe, other things going on in your life. How do you make that transition from the classroom to home? Well, we're going to start with the why. I'll tell you how in a few minutes, but the why. We want to maintain students' behavioral skills. Now, I'm not saying students all have behaviors that might disrupt the classroom. A behavioral skill for us is what you have done as a parent all along. 2 weeks ago, your student was getting up in the morning, getting dressed, eating breakfast, getting on the bus or getting in the car, or walking, riding their bike to school in a timely manner to get there at a certain time. And now everything has changed. Maybe for the last week or so, everybody's been getting up in the household and having a cup of coffee and turning on the TV and staying in their pajamas all day. And you know what? That works really well for spring break. But for school and for learning, we need to maintain our behavioral skills. These are the things that we do not want to lose, because regression, the gradual loss of acquired skills, applies to your student getting up in the morning, being prepared to learn, getting to the learning environment, and then actually learning. So your job as a parent is not going to be, oh, you'll be teaching, but you're not going to be providing the coursework. You're not going to be coming up with manipulatives or coming up with the ideas for your student. Your teacher and your school district will be doing that. But what you need to do is to really hold on to what you've taught your student and the routines and the skills that your student has now to be able to function in the school environment. So let's avoid the regression. Let's avoid that gradual loss of skills and your hard work over the years to get your student up in the morning and moving towards what they need to be doing during the day. Okay, teaching at home. The thing is that you have been and always will be your student's primary teacher. So first of all, trust yourself. You've got this. It's a huge transition. I don't mean to minimize that at all. It's a huge transition. It's a huge responsibility. But I want you to focus in on those behavioral pieces. The curriculum work will come, but you need to lay the foundation for your student so they can learn their best. First thing you can do is establish a routine. Just like you were doing a couple weeks ago when the student was going to actual physical school, you still need to set your alarm. Wake up at the same time during the school week. You and your student need to shower, get dressed, have breakfast. And I'm going to recommend that you actually pack your lunch and be ready to transition to your learning environment. Because as a parent, you probably have more going on in your life than being your student's teacher at this time. So prepare yourself for your learning and work environment and maintain your go-to-school routines to avoid any sort of behavioral regression. Now, I know with teenagers, it's tough. Try getting that kid up in the morning. On a typical day, it's rough. On a day where you don't have to go to school, it's going to be even harder. So establishing a routine and sticking to that routine is really going to pay off in the end. The other thing is that you've got to create a good learning environment. Most students will want to learn up in their bedrooms. Why? Because there's a TV, there's their cell phone. They've got a couple of video games up there. It's their stuff. But it's not the best place to learn. What you need to do is to create an environment that's conducive to learning. So let's try to create a workspace. If you can, clear a dedicated space. Just try to use that space only for learning. And you know what? If you can do it, great. If you can't, kitchen table worked for me. It's just a matter of having that routine. This is the time that we clear the kitchen table. This is what your workspace looks like. Maybe this is what your brothers and sisters' workspace looks like. Here's my workspace over here. If possible, clear distractions and clutter. Okay? Turn the table towards a wall. It gives less visual distraction, especially if you're working in the kitchen or you're working on a laptop or doing other things while your student's trying to study. So as much as possible, clear the distractions, the clutter. Turn off your TV. Get the headphones and the earbuds out. Turn off your cell phone because those are the major distractions in all of our lives. I don't care what age you are. Make sure that you have everything you need before you start your classes. This is for you and this is for your student. Have everything there. Any disruption, any lag in time is distractible moment, and we're going to try to avoid that. I want you to try to model classroom norms. So no cell phone, no texting, calling your friends during class time, trying to juggle work and class. As much as possible, try to keep those things separate to really support your students' learning and model the behavior that you want to see from them. The next thing is that you try to establish the basic routine before you start learning. You create and model behaviors. You create a learning space and model behaviors, but then you really need to set up a system, a schedule of what's going to be happening during the day. This really supports your student. Having something consistent, having something predictable is really going to help your student settle into this new environment. So create a visual schedule or a to-do list showing what, when, and how long the student needs to stay on task. Set a timer, a deadline. Actually have class times. We meet on campus Mondays through Fridays, but on Mondays and Wednesdays, our first class starts at 9:30 and goes until 10:25. Stick to that. Put it in a visual, a written schedule so you know what's coming up, your student knows what's coming up. It also will show the breaks and the lunch times and maybe an outdoor activity or now's the time to FaceTime your friends. Put everything into a schedule so that everybody knows what to expect. That's going to help with transitions. We know that if students know what's coming up and they get into a routine, then that helps move the flow from, let's say, math class to history class or history to science. But as much as possible, allow your student choices when they're making their schedule. You know, sometimes it's going to matter, hey, the teacher's going to be meeting us online at a certain time for history. Well, you can't mess with that. But what you can do is say, okay, you know what? We've got the afternoon, we've got these worksheets, we know what your homework is. Which do you want to do first, science or math? Allow your students some choice. Schedules are going to look very different because students look very different. The thing to keep in mind is to keep your schedule both cognitively appropriate and age appropriate. So this is a perfect schedule for a younger student, maybe kindergarten through, I don't know, third, fourth grade. To be able to just show, first we're going to do this, then we're going to do that. It's starting off with just 2 items. And then you have your overall schedule showing how the day lays out. But having a smaller schedule showing first we're going to do this, then this comes up, really helps the student to know what to expect and to make transitions when necessary. The thing is, you don't have to just go with something simple. You can move it up a notch. This schedule shows throughout the day in a block schedule, a Friday schedule, agendas that was done with a simple whiteboard. It's handwritten. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. But here is something fancy. This is a free program called Asana. It's a project management tool. And I have a student at CU Denver taking civil engineering classes. So this type of schedule really works for him and his type of brain. It's a checklist format. It shows what's coming up through the whole semester, when things need to be done, and then we're able to take large assignments and chunk them into smaller bite-sized daily pieces. You know, the other thing is you're going to need to have something to maintain time. Schools have this. They still have the analog clocks. But you can download a free app called Tomighty. And if you email me, I'll give you the link to this free app. Tomighty actually sets itself up into a Pomodoro, a 25-minute unit of measurement. You can see with the blue background there, I wanted to give you a screenshot of what the Pomodoro looks like, what Tomighty looks like. But the little red rectangle up in the right side, the 2104, I actually use the Pomodoro technique throughout my day just to let me know that I am doing and following through on chunks of tasks, just like we want our students to do. So again, back to that modeling of behavior as your student's primary teacher in the past and always. If you can model it, hey, I'm using this too, I think that you'll find that the Pomodoro is really a helpful tool for the whole family. Pomodoro is Italian for tomato, and this is a tomato timer. It was actually named after a tomato timer. We set our timers for 25 minutes. This one that I'm showing you here, actually, it's a kitchen timer, so it like tick, 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 tick. The online ones, you can turn that ticking sound off. But having something so a student can see how much more time do I have to focus on this? It really cuts down on behaviors and again creates that schedule and that routine that all of our students crave. All right, I know you're juggling a lot. As parents, you've got a lot more on your plate than now being your student's new teacher. You probably have a job. You might have a couple of students at home that need everything. You're still probably the main cook and cleaner, and it's an awful lot. And you must feel like you're feeding little birdies all the time. But I just want to tell you, you've got this. Don't give up. This is just new. It's different. And please, please, please let me know if I can do anything to support you through this transition. I can be reached again. My name is Kathy Allen. I could be reached at info@ihecp.org. I would love to hear what you would love to learn about teaching students at home. I'd also love it if you'd check out our website, www.ihecp.org, because I want everybody to know that continuing education and college possible now for students across the board. So let's get our students started off right. Let's get them through elementary school, middle school, high school. Let's get them through this coronavirus, keep them moving, The skills that I'm suggesting that you teach your student today and that you employ today will help your student through life. So thank you so much for your time. Please be sure to reach out. I would love to hear from you. Take good care. Until next time, bye.